Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. I'm Cal. Tis the season for Battlefield. Yeah, the game that once redefined multiplayer warfare. She's been struggling for the past few years, and Battlefield 2042 helped ram that last nail in the coffin. Thanks to IGN, we got to look at some fresh concept art, and they had a chance to sit down with Vince Zampella to look at what the future holds for the series. So let's just go ahead and take a look, shall we? First of all, Battlefield 2042 launched back in November of 2021 to well-deserved criticism. By the way, if you're one of those people who bought the game later on when everything is fixed and then act like the initial outrage was unfair, go f yourself. The game's issues were a dime a dozen. No single-player campaign mode, even when we were told another studio, Ridgeline Games by the way, was working on it in the future. That never came to fruition because EA closed the studio down. We had no server browser like traditional Battlefields, no conventional scoreboard, no traditional class system that we've grown accustomed to like Assault, Support, Engineer, or Recon, no persistent lobbies. This isn't Call of Duty, another reason why I left COD. No stat screen, no leaderboard, no dog tags, no community servers. They couldn't even be bothered to put more than 2 pistols in this game. Also, by the way, the amount of games, Lord, the amount of weapons in this game, plus the portal, didn't even amount to the amount of weapons that were in Battlefield 4 at launch. So yeah, there's that. The game launched on PlayStation 5, and the only thing that seemed to take advantage of the new hardware was the environmental hazards, and by environmental hazard I mean the tornado that would, randomly come around and, blow some trees down every so often. It didn't really disrupt the game that much. I mean, you could basically ignore it and nothing would happen. Occasionally you would get swept up if you were not paying attention, but other than that, it didn't really do anything. Also, let's talk about the massive 128 player maps that no one asked for. Most of these maps at launch were just vast expanses of open fields where you spend 3 minutes running from different objectives just to get ran over by a hovercraft with assumingly bulletproof windows. 10 out of 10 experience, guys. I would highly recommend if you just want an aneurysm. Let's talk about Vince. He's worked on titles like Apex Legends, Jedi Fallen Order, and Titanfall 2, which I still consider to be one of the greatest first-person shooters of all time. Vince gave us a few details on what the next Battlefield might look like and what we should expect. He did shout out Battlefield 3 and 4. He called them the pinnacle of the Battlefield series, which, let's be real, most of us agree on. Battlefield 3 still has some of the best map design in the entire series, in my personal opinion. He also said that we have to get back to the core of what Battlefield is, something that 2042 severely lacked. I'd also like to remind you guys of the quips that they had at the end of every match, as if we just finished a friendly match of kickball and weren't just trying to kill each other. I mean, we are fighting climate wars. I don't understand why everybody looks so clean and powdered. Kaleidoscope, objectively one of the worst maps to play on, looked pristine at launch as if no one had ever set foot there. There was no barricades for infantry cover, no shattered windows, no scuffed streets. It honestly could have been Siege of Shanghai 2.0 if they had enough time to develop these maps, as they should have. When you played Kaleidoscope at launch, you were either using a vehicle or underneath one. There is no in between, no chance of survival either way. Also, people would spawn tanks on high-rise buildings and just rain shells on you from neighboring capture points, so that was fun. That was $70 well spent. Speaking of maps, Vince addressed the 128 player maps of 2042. He admitted that while ambitious, his words not mine, they didn't hit home with fans. Battlefield 2042 went back to 64 player maps later on in its life cycle, which I was thankful for at the time, and he says that the next Battlefield plans to stick to that approach. He says, quote, "Doing the number for the sake of the number doesn't make any sense." He prefers nice, dense, and well-designed spaces. He says once maps reach a certain scale, they become completely different, which means you have to design around that. So they're looking to past Battlefields for inspiration, which is a good sign. I'm pretty sure you all will be happy to hear that Specialists will be gone this time around. They shouldn't have been there in the first place, but he goes on to say, quote, "I wasn't there for 2024. I don't know what the rationale was, but for me, it's like the team tried something new. Have to applaud the effort. Not everybody liked it, but you got to try things. It didn't work. It didn't fit. Specialists will not be coming back. Classes are kind of the core of Battlefield, and we're going back to that. I will say I am ignorant of game development, and I have no clue how decisions are made within these companies. I can understand a team wanting to try something new, but honestly, to me personally, it felt like Specialists was something that EA would have pushed on a team because they're following trends. They're a company. They need to make millions of dollars, apparently. Hero shooters were popular at the time, and it's an easy way to sell skins, which I'm pretty sure that's why they changed our executions or takedowns or whatever you call them. They moved them to third person instead of first person like we're used to, because what's the point of having a skin if you can't see it? Speaking of skins, we all remember that Santa Claus outfit that they released and removed all within 24 hours. That was fun. I blame executives for just about everything that goes wrong, because more often than not, they don't have a talented bone in their body. They see everything as a number. They're just here to make money. They consistently make terrible decisions that affect us as gamers, and worse, the livelihoods of devs beneath them. We all know what happens when a game doesn't sell well as it should, and we also know what happens when a game does sell as well as it should. Just looking at Tango Gameworks and what happened with that studio. But if executives just learn to trust the creatives with their art, that's how we end up with bangers like Astrobot. But I got a little bit distracted. Let's just get back to Battlefield. According to Cat, Vince was careful to stress that Battlefield 2042 wasn't a failure of a game, which I disagree with. I mean, what else do you call a game that loses 70% of its player base 2 weeks after launch? Vince is just being professional. I do understand that. He can't go off in the interview. I'm sure he's just working with some of the people who worked on 2042, plus it would just be in bad taste, so it's fine, I guess. They did also touch on Battlefield's rivalry with Call of Duty. Some Battlefields have outsold CODs in the past, but after 2042, let's be honest, I'm not sure if Battlefield has the same pull as it once did. Who knows? I guess we'll just have to see at launch. As for a potential movie or TV series, while interesting, Vince says that's not really their focus right now. So, yeah. 2025 could be the year for Battlefield, guys. As always, I am cautiously optimistic. Vince does seem to have a clear vision of what Battlefield should be. Let's hope he can spread that vision amongst his team and revive our girl Battlefield to her former glory. But yeah, that's all I have to say on the subject. I would murder for a good Battlefield at this point. I need a good FPS in my life. But anyway, appreciate you guys listening to me rant. Make sure to like, subscribe, hit that bell so you never miss an episode. I will catch you on the next one. Bye, guys.